Good morning. Very honored to be here today. I have to say that, it doesn't matter how long somebody's been gone. It's that path that we take to heal is long. And, we heal, but we never forget. And on behalf of my sister, I was thinking about the first conference that we did, and she said, I said, you better go first, you're older than me. She said, no, you go first, you're younger. And, we talked about our work, and we didn't take notes and, write out our speech. We spoke from our heart. And, that heart has a tendency to sometimes make us say the right things, to help ourselves and to help our children. And if we're lucky enough to have our parents with us, sometimes we become their counselor. And when we talk from our heart, we can talk from, the knowledge that we've gained by our profession and our career. We can talk from very sacred ceremonial transfers that have been given to us, and we speak from that place. But sometimes we speak with a voice that makes us angry, that we have been victimized and targeted. I used to use the word victim, I use target. And that sometimes we can't speak for ourselves, and that when we have to, we ask somebody else to speak for us. So I'm here today on behalf of my mother, who is 94 years old. And this morning she said, well, thank them for continuing to look to Bonnie for the legacy that she left and the heart that she had for her work, that it wasn't an 8-to-5 job. Sometimes she took people home with her. Sometimes she woke up to sorrow. And many times she got to celebrate someone's recovery, someone's healing, someone's journey through the legal system. She got to be a part of establishing codes and regulations to change the way that we practice the services that we provide to each other. So on behalf of her children, Iceland and Thomas, they send their regards to, and where our heart goes out to all of you that always think of this, and every year we travel here. I'm coming here today by way of Sydney, Australia, Spokane, Washington, and did a full day training yesterday. And I said, I need to leave for Palm Springs. They all looked at me like, you're crazy. But we do what we do because we have a heart for each other. We love each other. We care for each other. And I have a lot of people in the audience today that I feel that way about. And they have been a part of my journey and my life, and you know who you are. And sometimes in this audience, you have received Indian names. Sometimes in this audience, we continue to call on you to help us. So Bonnie's life still grabs me sometimes and makes me stop and think about the first time that she disclosed being a victim of sexual abuse in our family. And it took me by surprise. She didn't tell me, she didn't tell our mother, she didn't tell our father, she didn't tell anybody. And it was at this conference that she felt safe, that she felt like she had support, and she felt like she could disclose something very painful in her life as a little girl. And that time, people lined up to hug her. And I think we changed the agenda that day because we decided we would acknowledge that hug. And people, they came forward. So on behalf of all of our relatives on her father's side, the heavy runners, the white grasses, all of our relatives in Canada, and on her mother's side, all of our relatives on the ground side, the Crow that gets down often, all of our family at home, I thank you for continuing to think of my sister. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. So as I think about these chairs this morning, I'm going to ask for Lori, if you're here. I always like to call people by their first name, and then I'll say their last name. Lori, if you're here, if you could come forward and help us out this morning. I hope she's here. She's late? Oh, that's just typical. 10 minutes? Do you want to go to the next one, Sarah? Lori jump? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, moving right along, is Elsie here? Elsie. Elsie, you're going to help us with the children's quilt, and Sarah, and Jerry, and Jim are going to help you out there. And Elsie is a licensed social worker from St. Mary's, Alaska. She's the president of Arctic Winds Healing Winds. She helped establish an Alaska Native unit with Alaska Cares, a child advocacy center, as prior to Children's Justice Act project coordinator. She helped develop an educational video highlighting child sexual abuse in Alaska, grasping the wisdom of elders and identifying ways for healing to apply to traumatic experiences. She has also worked with various law firms as a victims advocate, providing support to approximately 300 victims of clergy child sexual abuse. Thank you, Elsie, for your work. These aren't jobs that we do. These are callings that we have as people to do this work. It takes strong, dedicated people to step forward. Some of you in the room that are young, just starting, this is the road that we want you to go on. We want you to help us. I'd like to call up Jeremy. Are you here, Jeremy? Thank you, Jeremy. Jeremy is from White Earth, Ojibwe, and Winnebago. He's worked in the field of domestic violence since 1994 on issues affecting children who have experienced domestic violence, supervised visitations, batterers intervention, and providing training and education. He worked for 4 years coordinating the Duluth Family Visitation Center, serving families with a history of domestic violence and dealing with visits and exchanges of children between parents. Jeremy concurrently worked during that time at the Women's Transitional Housing Coalition in Duluth, Minnesota, as the Children's Program Coordinator, providing activities and groups for children who have witnessed violence. He also joined the staff of Mending the Sacred Hoop Technical Assistance Project in 1998 and is currently the Training and Resource Director. He is also involved with community groups and educational efforts to engage and promote nonviolent lifestyles for men. Jeremy has conducted groups with teenage boys and girls on domestic violence, facilitated groups for Native men who have battered, and organized community education events. Jeremy also sits on the steering committee for the North American Men Engaged Network and is on the Men of Color Expert Working Group for the Office of Victims of Crime Resource Center for Underserved Communities. Thank you, Jeremy. William Jr. is a Pomo Coast Miwok Indian from Northern California and is enrolled at the Confederated Tribes of the Granton Rancheria. He received his Bachelor's of Arts from the University of Santa Clara in 1974. He received his Juris Doctorate from Stanford Law School in 1977. Judge Thorne has served as a tribal judge in Utah, Idaho, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, Montana, Wisconsin, Washington, Michigan, and California for numerous tribes on a part-time basis for more than 30 years. Wow. In 1986, Thorne was appointed by the governor as a trial judge for the state of Utah. After 14 years as a state trial judge, he was appointed in 2000 as a judge of the Utah Court of Appeals. He is now retired. Judge Thorne has served on a number of national and local board committees, including serving as faculty and using his judicial leadership for child welfare system improvement, and he participates in many projects and committees. He continues to speak and teach around the country, chiefly on issues related to children, including child welfare reform efforts, disproportionality affecting minority children, and the Indian Child Welfare Act. Thank you, Judge Thorne. Lenny Hayes is an enrolled member of the Sisseton Wahpeton Oyate of the northeast corner of South Dakota. Lenny is also owner and operator of Tate Dopa Consulting, LLC, and is currently in private practice, specializing in marriage, family therapy. He has extensive training in mental and chemical health issues that impact the Two-Spirit, Native LGBTQ, and Native community. Lenny has traveled nationally and locally training and presenting on the issues that have impacted both the Two-Spirit, Native LGBTQ, and Native community. Lenny is involved with several local organizations and is former chairman of the board of the Minnesota Two-Spirit Society. As chairman of the board of the Minnesota Two-Spirit Society, he helped and assisted Native organizations in developing policies in the protection, safety, and non-discrimination of Two-Spirit Native LGBTQ people in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. Lenny is a board member to the First Nations Repatriation Institute. Lenny is also an advisory committee member with several organizations. Thank you, Lenny. Okay. Lori, if you're listening out there, we know that you're a citizen of the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians. We know that you're the assistant director of the Strong Hearts Native Helpline. Previously, you served as executive director of Uniting Three Fires Against Violence, a statewide coalition that provides training and technical assistance and resources to improve the capacity of tribes in Michigan to respond to domestic and sexual violence in their communities. We know that you bring a wealth of knowledge in tribal advocacy and criminal justice experiences to Strong Hearts. You have held several positions within the Sault Ste. Marie criminal justice system before officially taking over as program manager in the Advocacy Resource Center. The Advocacy Resource Center is a comprehensive program. Okay, Lori, yay. I'm talking to you like you're way out there. Here you are. We're gonna have to give you a new Indian name. The Advocacy Resource Center is a comprehensive program for victims of domestic and sexual violence, providing advocacy, shelter, and civil legal representation to survivors. Lori is also an appellate court judge for the Sault Ste. Marie Chippewa Tribal Court and previously served as a member of the Section 904 Task Force appointed by Attorney General Eric Holder. Thank you, Lori. I'm glad you're here. When we honor our people that step forward as leaders and we sing for them, that's like praying for them. And we want to pray for these beautiful, outstanding leaders in advocacy, that their walk on this earth continues to be blessed, that they remain healthy, that they get to enjoy everything that they dream for. And so, I'm not sure if is it your drum group or Hokey? I just call you Hokey.